Boxes. Aside from being the mortal enemy of bags and mimes, they're also a very useful way to supplement your knowledge of moving through the fretboard. So today we're going to talk a little bit about boxes, maybe specifically pentatonic boxes, and how you can use them without getting trapped inside of them. And this is going to be the demonstration we're going to use. So if that seemed kind of difficult, it really isn't, and we're going to break it down really quickly. So first of all, let's define what a box is. There's a couple different ways that people think about boxes, specifically pentatonic boxes. I've seen some people think of a box as an entire pentatonic shape, right? Like the whole shape could be like box one, something like that. To me, what a box actually is just any guitar pattern that has four corners. So what I mean by that, if we take like the A minor pentatonic shape right here, and we kind of zoom in on maybe the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notes right there, right? What I see as a box are these four corner notes, right? So it's really just kind of like a self-contained rectangle. And eventually, if you get familiar enough with scales and stuff, you'll be able to see these patterns, and you can use that same rectangle or box and link them together. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn 4 different boxes and then start stringing them together with chords to kind of make it a more fretboard expansive exercise, right? So the first one we're going to learn is going to be from the E minor scale, the E minor pentatonic scale, however you want to look at it, right? And the E is rooted on the 12th fret of the low E string, so this is the octave E, right? And if we take like a minor pentatonic thing, we get that. Now, we're going to focus in on just a couple of these boxes, right? So I'm going to actually go to the A string and grab this box right here. So 12A to 14A, 12D to 14D. Okay, now if you notice, you can do the same thing down a string. And you can think of that as an extension of one box. It's a totally different box. That's the cool thing about this. There's no one way to look at it. It's just how you want to create these patterns in your head to link them together, right? So we have these 2 boxes, and we're actually going to learn another one that goes right here. This is a D. So 10E, 12E, 10A, 12A. So we have this box, which links up with this box, which links up with this box. So we kind of have 3 boxes, or if you can think of this as just one box if you want. So what we're going to do is we're going to play this one, and we're going to play this one. The great thing is you can build up a lot of speed with these because it's just 2 fingers, and usually the intervals are a pretty similar space, even though the frets kind of taper and get smaller on the way down. So what we're going to do is we're going to slide from one box into another box, right? So we have this first one, and now I'm in the bottom right corner of this rectangle, which is also the top left corner of this rectangle. So I'm going to use this to transition into the next one. So we've got, okay? Now we can even go one step further and kind of bring it into the next one, right? So this is going to be the first lick that we're going to learn. All right, all I'm doing is going hammer on the first 3 notes of that box. I'm going to go back one. So I'm turning this 4-cornered box into a, right? These are kind of triplets, triple it, triple it. And then I'm going to slide into the next one. And I'm going to end on the corner of this one, which is 12G. So, all right, there's the whole thing. Now, if you do this, if you drill this, you can actually get really quick because it's just hammer-ons and slides, so you don't have to, you're not reliant upon your picking hand to do a lot of work. Now, the reason it kind of sounds good when it stops here on this G, the theory behind this is we're kind of just taking notes from E minor pentatonic, and its parent major scale is G. So if you don't know what that is, I've made a video on relative minor that you can go to, but basically G and E minor sound really good together, right? So that's going to be our first lick, okay? I also want to take a second to focus on this one box, which is 12D, 14D, 12G, 14G. And we're going to connect a chord to this, right? And the chord is going to be an open E minor. So we're going to play this E minor, and then we're going to jump into this box. And I realize this is a really wide voice thing that we're doing here, and if Joe Pass would see this, he'd roll over in his grave. But I like it because it's kind of a fretboard spanning thing, even though we could be more efficient. We could play the E minor here. But I want to kind of get in the habit of breaking out of positions and just moving through the neck, right? So we're going to start with a E minor chord into that box. And I'm just going, there's two hammer-ons, D, G, back to G. All right, so E minor. And then maybe the second time, instead of going hammer, hammer, G, G, you go hammer, hammer. You can bend it, you can do whatever you want with these four corners of the box. And some people don't like teaching in boxes because you're only getting a smaller view of a bigger picture, but I think they're very useful in being able to hone in on parts of a scale, right? So I'm taking this from a larger scale, but I'm really focusing, because the danger is if you just look at a whole scale, like everything, it just sounds like kind of like a busy pentatonic exercise, but whatever. So we've got a chord, and then we've got the lick. So we're going to match this chord with this lick, and then back to the chord with that box, right? So chord, lick, chord, box, whatever, however you want to look at it. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take two more box shapes, and this is totally more of my style because we're going to turn them into little chords. You can think of these as double stops, whatever you want to do. But the first box that we're going to use with an A minor chord is going to be right here. Same thing, but we're in A's kind of position on the neck, right? And we're going to go 5D to 7D, 5G to 7G. And we're going to attach this with another box right here, which I'm thinking more of like a C major, or you can think of C Mixolydian mode, whatever. It's not important how you get to it, but it's just important that you know these notes, right? So we have 8B to 10B, 8E to 10E. So here's the first one, and the second one. Now, what I incorporate into my own personal playing style is taking them as like kind of like little pieces of chords. So instead of playing them one note at a time, I'm kind of borrowing both of them, getting them, and then kind of hitting them in a different way, right? And what's nice about this one right here, it matches us up to the other part of that second box that we just learned a second ago, right? So really we have 5, 7, 5, 7, 8, 10, 8, 10. And now you can get creative. And then we can also string these together with the first box that we learned, which is the 12th fret and the 14th fret, right? So we have this box to this box to this box. All right, so again, I'm using different fingers for each one. And it's good to be able to see the outline of these boxes in your mind's eye instead of having to rely on your fingers, because then you can be a lot more creative with kind of sliding through them and stuff like that, right? So we're going to put this little lick, riff, whatever you want to call it, on top of an A minor chord. It's like the sexiest thing you could possibly do with all these, right? So let's put both of them together and just kind of go an E minor to an A minor chord progression, which we're kind of soloing, however you want to look, with these shapes into a more cohesive kind of song-like structure, right? So we're going to start with the E minor. So again, I was just using a few different boxes and trying to be creative with it. And the beauty of simplifying something in such a tight, compact way, right, is that you can really I almost think you can be more creative with the limitations of staying inside of this. And as long as we're moving it around and connecting it and linking them together with different shapes, I think you can do a lot of cool things. Like instead of just playing 5/7 5/7, there's an infinite amount of ways you can combine these notes. You can play them as chords, play them as single notes, into a chord. There's a million different things you can do with this. So it's not the only way to look at opening up the fretboard, but I think it's a really valuable way to start just improving your mind's eye and how you see things. Also, too, I have finally been convinced to get on Twitter and Instagram, so I'm going to link you below. If you're into that kind of thing, hit me up. If not, I will see you next time. Thank you.